The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. I've been talking about how things have been getting completely out of control in the Philippines, including mostly as a direct result of President Rodrigo Duterte's just outrageous proclamations about shooting suspected drug dealers or drug users in the streets, this sort of encouragement of a bizarre vigilante. I don't even really like the term vigilante justice in this case because it's not justice. No. It's just people suspected by who of being drug dealers or users. In any case, Filipino police have fatally shot more than a dozen more people. One of the people shot is a mayor whom the president, Rodrigo Duterte, publicly linked to the drug trade. And that mayor was shot and killed in the Philippines, as well as his own wife, joining what are now thousands of casualties in this brutal drug war. And this is, you would say, wow, well, now things are really going to escalate because a mayor has been killed. No, this isn't even the first mayor that was killed in this way. This is the third mayor that was killed in the government crackdown on. It seems mostly that this is based around meth, which they call shabu there, or shabu, I'm not exactly sure. And so that's what it's focused on. This is a level of absurdity that is, it's almost cartoonish because it's hard to even conceive of this being the day-to-day, you know?
Yeah, and of course average citizens are able to go out and kill these drug dealers and users, but it seems like with these three mayors that were killed, it was all at the hands of police.
Right.
I guess one was at a checkpoint and another was while the mayor was being detained in prison.
Yep.
So you have to wonder, I mean, they say that it's for drug use or drug dealing, but could there be ulterior motives here? I mean, is it
like
for
a political
retribution?
Maybe.
And that would be interesting because, of course, here in the United States, you want to get back at your political enemies. You may shut down a bridge to piss off their constituents.
Yeah,
whereas
or maybe threaten
apparently
a state.
in the Philippines, I guess you can just go kill them.
Here you have your interior secretary call the senators and issue thinly veiled or not so veiled threats. There, they just go straight to the killing. Yeah, no, the political retribution question is an interesting one. So no sign of things getting better in the Philippines. And every time we talk about this, we do get emails from a lot of people who say, David, you know, the Philippines is a beautiful country. The people are tremendous. And I don't doubt that at all. I've been interested in the Philippines for a long time. Everything I've heard is that the people are absolutely wonderful. This craziness I've been reading doesn't apply to every region of the country, but it is a lot of the country that is riddled with this. And I would not visit while this is going on. It's not because I think the people are bad.
And whenever we do Duterte stories for the main show, I always see in the YouTube comments people saying, why are you going after our dearest leader, Duterte? He's doing such a great job at cleaning up the country. And I think you get emails to this effect as well.
Sometimes.
And it's with the Philippines and with Saudi Arabia. It's all very strange.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. People, you will always find, there are people who now do news analysis from a North Korean perspective I've seen. I couldn't tell you the names of any of these people, but a couple people have linked me to videos. And they're Westerners who say, I am here to defend the North Korean way of life. Like, yeah, you're always going to have defenders. Hitler had an endless number of defenders. The fact that you have defenders doesn't mean that what you're doing doesn't warrant criticism. So anyway, that's the latest from the Philippines. And we've been covering it and we'll continue covering it.
I wonder if, most of these 7,000 deaths are from police or actual vigilantes themselves, because it seems like you wouldn't want to get yourself embroiled in a drug war if you don't have to.
That would be
maybe
optional.
If it's in self-defense or something, but you wouldn't go out there seeking to be some sort of hero, I don't think.
I would agree with that. That's not what I would look to do, but some people probably do. Some people probably are looking to just be heroes in this totally depraved drug war that's going on. Big news from Tesla. Tesla, the electric car manufacturer run by Elon Musk, of SpaceX fame, of what else? I mean, he was like originally the PayPal guy, I think.
He was, he wants to do like a high-speed railroad from
Hyperloop guy,
San Francisco to LA.
Anyway, we know who Elon Musk is. The first Model 3s are now rolling out. They have debuted. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a Tesla shareholder. I've gotten emails from people now, Pat, saying, David, you don't need to do that because you know what? We get that you're trying to hide a possible incentive you have to say positive things about Tesla. But somebody wrote to me and they said, it's not even about that, David. The question is, would you reporting on Tesla really have the possibility of changing Tesla's stock price? No offense, but we don't think so. A couple of people have written to me. So they said, you don't have to disclose your Tesla shareholder status. But the thing is, now that I've mentioned it, I feel like if I stop, someone is going to say, you didn't disclose your shareholder status. But it's a fair point, which is not only do I have an incentive to talk positively about Tesla financially, do I even have the ability to impact the share price? And I don't think I really do.
Yeah, I don't think you can please everyone all the time. And do I have to disclose that I don't have any stocks in Tesla?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Good question, though. Clever. I'll make a note of that one. So anyway, Tesla has handed over the keys to the first 30 owners of the very much anticipated Model 3. This is the one that they took $1,000 deposits on. They, at this point, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of deposits they took. They're expecting to manufacture 400,000 cars per year in total by next year. But that's only a part of all of the models that they have, and it's not clear how much of that requires new facilities, whatever. The reviews so far of the Model 3 are very impressive, not only by electric vehicle standards, but by any vehicle standards. And the issue that I'm reading about that is the sort of the primary issue with Tesla, there's two issues. There's the environmental issue, and you might say, wait, environmental issue, it's an electric car company. I'll talk about that. And the durability issue, which is we don't yet know what a 10-year-old Tesla will be like. And some of the reports are that after a few years, a lot of the things that some other car manufacturers have figured out in terms of how to keep things not rattling and shaking after several years, Tesla has not yet figured out, so that is an area in which they are showing their manufacturing, the novice nature of the car manufacturing world, that a position that they have right now. I'm guessing that they're going to get that fixed. And then there's the environmental issue, which is when you think about, yes, these cars are electric, and a lot of that electricity still comes from coal. But putting that aside, in order to manufacture a lot of these parts, including the batteries, if you consider all the parts that have to be shipped around additionally for the manufacture of the batteries and the carbon footprint of those, are you really actually doing a net reduction in terms of the carbon footprint with one of these cars? That's a fair criticism, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, they're just kind of starting out, and I think that's the learning curve that they're going to have to face. And, you know, maybe other car manufacturers that started 50 plus years ago were able to deal with that then. Yeah. Tesla has to go through with it now. And I would imagine that as these cars become more affordable, as they become more popular on the road, they'll be able to simplify that supply chain a little bit more.
You would hope, yeah. And maybe this is part of wanting to build bigger and bigger facilities in the United States, which is maybe it will have the side effect of reducing how much of this shipping back and forth overseas is happening in terms of the parts. I don't know. I mean, we don't know the answer to that. But that's actually one of the better critiques I've seen of Tesla and of the electric car world in general.
And their seats are now vegan. It's a faux leather, because I think a lot of animal rights activists were pointing out, hey, you claim to be so environmentally friendly, and yet you're using leather for your seats. So that's good news as well.
Aren't a lot of manufacturers not using real leather anymore merely because of the cost associated with it? I don't know. I think so, because there's a lot of manufacturers that when you look at their website and see what seats are available, they'll say cloth and leatherette. Leatherette as
like
opposed
a synthetic leather, a faux leather.
I think so.
It's interesting because, I mean, if you spend $20,000 plus on a car, you'd think you'd be able to afford whatever the leather seats would cost, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true. Maybe, I mean, maybe it's just to increase profit margin. They might not necessarily be passing along the savings to the consumer, but they're like, hey, we can produce leather-like seats for less. Yeah. They'll still be just as good to 99% of the public. I don't know. Okay, the Ohio State Fair. Are you a fair guy? Do you go to fairs?
Fairly so. Every now and then.
Fairly often. Okay. I'm not a fan of fairs. Growing up in Western Massachusetts, there were constantly fairs. There was the 3-county fair in Northampton, Massachusetts. There was the Cummington Fair, which I've only been to once or twice, and it was an absolute disaster. There's the Big E is the big one out in Western Massachusetts, which is each state in New England has a building. Anyway, I just don't care about these fairs. I really don't, and I find it generally lame. But I'm an elite Northeast liberal, of course, Hispanic immigrant from Argentina, but nonetheless, I'm still an elite Northeast liberal to many people in our audience. And the Ohio State Fair is a big deal for a lot of people. Fairs are a big deal in other parts of the country, and they were actually shut down because the Fireball ride malfunctioned and it killed one young man and injured 7 other people, and they've now reopened for what they're calling normal operations, but the Fireball ride is not going to reopen. Yeah. Every once in a while, these rides have casualties, and I don't know the data in terms of whether these rides have gotten safer over time, because on the one hand, as engineering for these rides has improved, the pushing of the limits for these rides has also increased. The speed, the drops, the number of 360 loops, whatever the case might be. So I actually don't know. Like, we know mathematically commercial aviation is safer than ever, despite highly publicized accidents. I don't know whether carnival and fair rides and amusement park rides are actually safer than ever.
I would imagine they're a little bit more dangerous at these fairs because the people putting them on travel around. And I imagine that a lot of these rides have to be assembled and taken down over and over again. So any little bit could go wrong. Whereas
versus
an amusement
like a Six
park,
Flags or something.
Yeah, the roller coaster is stationary. It's always going to be there. So obviously casualties are going to be less frequent.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. If you think of like the Superman ride at this Agawam, Massachusetts Six Flags.
And deaths have happened there as well.
Is that one actually shut down? I don't even know.
No, it's open now.
It's still open?
It's been rebranded.
Oh, what's it called
like a
now?
whole new thing. Bizarro or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, I never went on that one. I do remember, I've gone on very few of these rides. I'm not into roller coasters. I did go on what I think is called either the Cyclone or the Vortex or the Volcano or something. It's like an old, that one actually might be shut down. It's an older roller coaster at Agawam, Massachusetts Six Flags. And the ride was so rough that it wasn't like the up and down that I was reacting to. It was just the vibration from how rough it was. Then I went on a Batman ride, it's a much newer one where you kind of hang. You have almost like a vest type device that locks you in place and your legs hang. And that one does a bunch of loops and circles. Because it was such a smooth ride, even though it's crazier in terms of the movement and the motion, it was way simpler for me to be on that than the old rickety roller coaster.
Oh, yeah. I'm totally open to going to an established amusement park and going on all the roller coasters. I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
But these state fairs, these local fairs concern me. And actually, when I was a kid, maybe 9 or 10 years old, I went to a fair in my local town and someone died on one of the rides. Yeah. And I think it more had to do with, lack of oversight. The person wasn't strapped in correctly. So they did fall off the ride when there was like an abrupt turn on it. And I guess the guy had, medical problems before. I think he was mentally handicapped as well. So that played into it a big deal. But yeah, it was a disaster for the community and certainly not good for the company putting on that fair.
I'm just not into the whole thing. I think I'm basically done now. I don't really have an interest ever again in going on a roller coaster at one of these rides. I've done it maybe like 4 or 5 times. I went to Disney once for a conference when I was like 19, and I went on the Hellevator, where it just raises you up and then drops you suddenly. And, it's like...
I like the adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a motorcycle guy. I mean, I wouldn't go skydiving, or maybe I would if I was convinced into doing it. But I like roller coasters, and so many people do it to the point where I think it's, it's safe.
Skydiving actually is more interesting to me than roller coasters, although I still don't know that I would do it.
It's more unique.
It's unique. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today. We're here all week. I'm here all week, folks. And then we're here all of next week. And then we will have summer vacation. And I've been mentioning this off and on, Pat, because whenever we go on vacation, there will be some members who believe the show has ended. Like we just ended the show. We didn't mention it. We end the show and they cancel their memberships thinking the David Pakman Show is over.
I mean, what if we go on summer vacation and we think, well, I kind of like this. We may just
never
go back.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, if that happens, we will make an announcement. Don't worry. And I don't think it's likely to happen. That's it for today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.